Hi, Greg with Southern Vet Off-Road Recovery again here, and we've got guest host Keith from Desert Wranglers Jeep Club.
Hi.
And he was sitting in narrating another video, so we invited him to stay. I'm going to explain to him what we did here on a couple of Lovell Summit recoveries as we're driving up here. The week before this, I was with Ed, his wife Kendra, and Mark Printup, all from SNORR. And we had another vehicle up here, top of Lovell Canyon, head west on Lovell Summit towards Trout, and that's covered with snow in the shade, iced over, and we've had some vehicles slide off the road up there. Fortunately, they didn't go all the way to the bottom of the canyon, but slid off enough that they panicked, they stopped, they got out, got a ride off the mountain, and we went back to get them. So the week before this one, we've got a pickup truck sitting halfway over the edge, and he actually got a ride off the mountain. When we got the call, somebody had said, why don't we go tomorrow? My first thought was, we're still above freezing, it's been snowing, and we've already got some bad weather and ice. If we can go get them out tonight before it freezes all night, we'll have less ice. So the week before, we get the guy out in fresh snow. This one here, it's been snowing for a week. It's been above freezing during the day. It's dropped below freezing at night. So this couple actually in, I believe, a Ford Explorer, we're going to see here in a minute, they're coming down from a rental property that they've been checking on up there. And as they're coming down, they slide right off the road to the right. Fortunately, there's a big rock that stops them, put a little dent in their running board, but no real damage to the vehicle. Interestingly enough, I learned something on this one. I've heard people talk about newer iPhones, iPhone 14, 15, having the SOS feature. On the iPhone 14 and 15, evidently that works GPS through satellite instead of cell coverage. So the older phones, you had to have cell coverage in order to get an emergency call out. This guy actually has an iPhone 14, and he's able to place an emergency call, gets a 911 operator, explains it's not a life-threatening emergency, but I've slidden off the road and I need help. So in this particular case, he also has gone back home, but we're already below freezing and stuff. So Bryan picks him up the next morning about 7 a.m. and they're in the truck here talking with Bryan. We pull up, we chain up because we already know it's icy.
Oh, wow.
We've got about a 2-mile drive in here on this iced, snowy road. And we're going to go in and see where he's at.
It's interesting. You go from nice desert landscape to snow. What a change.
You get up to that 6,000 foot range where it stays cold, and it was actually 24 degrees, I think, when we got there, and closer to 27 by the time we got back out. But we knew we were sub-freezing all night. We threw chains just to be on the safe side. And you can see down the middle of this road in places where the snow's been compacted and it's a little flatter and a little more shiny. But our goal was always be safe, err on the side of caution. When I was up on this road the week before, we had fresh snow that provides more traction.
Yeah.
We aired down, we didn't chain up. But because we knew we had a vehicle off to the side here in this ditch, we just chained up right from the get-go. So the interesting thing is, the week before, we were just around the corner a little bit more. Same kind of situation, though. We had a vehicle off the side of the road, and we don't want to hook a winch towards this vehicle and pull ourselves down.
Right.
So what we're going to do is we're going to end up hooking to a tree up behind my white Jeep there with Bryan, and then we're pulling not only ourselves uphill, but we're also pulling the recovery vehicle uphill. That way, if anything fails or stops, this angle here is a little easier to tell how steep it is going down the hill. You can see the snow over the top of the Explorer there, and you can kind of tell how far he's leaning to the right. But the angle is always deceiving on these Keith. It's hard to tell in the camera how steep this is front to back, as well as how steep it is off camber to the right. But he was just driving right down the center of the road and slid directly right over to where that was. And
he's on a downhill descent.
A downhill descent with an off camber to the right.
That was kind of redundant, wasn't it?
You know, sometimes it is. We're gonna
To make my point.
we're gonna slide every way you can. But you know, he did the right thing, and that's what I always tell people. You know, they're a little embarrassed. They're not sure if they could have got out, if they should have stayed there. But I tell these people again, you didn't hurt yourself. You don't want to do more damage to the vehicle. You don't want it to slide over the edge. You did the right thing by being safe, getting a ride home for the night.
Freezing during the day, the sun already.
So we're trying to hook some straps here to the side of this vehicle, and I do something a little different with this rigging. The one we did the week before, we hooked a single winch line to the vehicle up off a pulley to change the angle back to the vehicle pulling it, and we were able to slide it back up on the road. And the other one, if we had our foot on the brake, we could slide the tires directly sideways, like we're going to try to pull here. Let our foot off the brake, the tires roll, we can move it forward or backward. So in this particular case, we know we've got ice. Even though we're chained up, we're trying to give ourselves the greatest mechanical advantage we can to pull this thing back on the road.
I learned stuff the hard way.
So you're going to see here, we're going to put a pulley right there at the vehicle, and then we're going to put another pulley up at the top. So what we've actually got with rigging coming out here is we've got Bryan's winch coming out the front of his vehicle. We're going to go through a pulley here at the end of this red strap. That red strap is hooked to a big tree up the hill. There's no reason to take the winch line all the way up the hill, because we're not going to pull the car all the way up. So we've got a 2 or 3 inch recovery strap with a pulley on it. That first pulley is just a redirect. So all we're doing with that first one is we're going to change the angle that we're pulling from out the front of Bryan's truck to that strap on the tree, and we're going to come back down to where I'm hooking this pulley up. Now this pulley here is actually going to multiply our pulling force. So we're going to double the rope up here and take that rope.
I'm pulling uphill and we're pulling you uphill. That way if something goes loose, something's not.
Yeah, no one's going over this side.
Less likely to slide.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
So we're also explaining to the vehicle owner what we're doing here. So the rope on the right is going up, being redirected through the red pulley, coming down to the vehicle, coming off that pulley and going right back to where we started. We've got double the recovery effort pulling his vehicle up. So every pound of tension we put on Bryan's winch pulling up is doubled on the other vehicle. So instead of putting, let's just say, 5,000 pounds of force pulling Bryan uphill, and the same 5,000 pounds of force pulling the Explorer uphill, we've now doubled the pulling effort on the recovery vehicle. So I'm not sure if Bryan's vehicle is in this video, but he actually pulls himself. He slides a little bit, but if we have 5,000 pounds of pulling effort on Bryan, we've got 10,000 pounds of pulling effort on the Explorer. So instead of dragging himself all the way uphill, we've got more effort on
very interesting.
on the vehicle.
Sideways. Truth is, he probably could. However, anytime we're on anything slippery,
And while we're sitting here narrating this one, we just got a Carpenter Canyon
Oh, did you?
recovery that just
Yeah, I look at my watch like I had a bad watch. I don't have a bad watch.
We're trying to pull everything uphill. Nothing's going to slide and go out of control. The other thing I've done up here, if you look at this winch line,
you're going to get to hear this twice. I just told you, and then we're going to say it again in the video here.
That's cool.
through a pulley, which is a redirect, down to your truck. If I come down to your Explorer with a single line, we've got exactly the same amount of pull on his Jeep as we do on your Explorer. However, by taking that redirect and coming down here with a pulley, having two lines here, I've got twice as much pulling effort on the Explorer as I do the Jeep. That's the reason.
One pulley is a redirect, no added power.
Right.
But this one will you don't double the power of the winch, you double the ability to pull the force.
We double the pulling power, so
So in other
change
words,
direction.
you change direction.
So his winch is pulling towards that tree, and that pulley just turned the direction back to your car. So
okay.
we have half the effort on his line as we do pulling on the Explorer. So instead of trying to pull both vehicles up the hill equally, we've got twice as much force pulling your vehicle back up the hill.
So here it is in effect. We've got a line from the cross member underneath the transfer case as well as off the back trailer hitch. So we've got a bridle with a rope there in the V pulling equally sideways on the vehicle. We've got his wheels turned full
Wow.
to the right, so you can see he just popped out of the ice he was frozen in.
Nope, just keep it right there.
We're going to pull him sideways a little bit and get his rear end pointed up the hill, and then we're going to have him take his foot off the brake.
Put it in reverse, but you're not going to give it any gas. I'm going to have you let off the brake just enough that we can roll it.
So when I want to pull him sideways, we're going to have him step his foot on the brake, and we're going to slide the tire
Oh, okay.
sideways. Now I've got him off the brake, and we're going to let him roll back up onto the road at the same time.
Go ahead and pull. Go ahead and pull. Keep pulling until I holler. Foot off the brake.
Very interesting.
So the other thing is, winches have a load limit and a cycle time. You can only put a certain amount of tension and work on them for a certain period of time. They have to cool down and rest. By running that extra pulley on this vehicle, we've got half the effort on that winch. That winch can pull for a long period of time without putting a lot of load and a lot of heat into it.
Aha.
So just by throwing that extra pulley in there, we don't have to stop a whole lot and wait for things to cool down.
I did not know this. Now I do.
That's why we invited you to come out and take a look at our videos today.
I like it. I'm learning.
The alternative is you got to go get stuck to learn it firsthand.
I'm good
That's-
at getting stuck and crashing.
So here we're pulling the back end around. We've got his wheel turned hard left, so his front end's going to follow the direction that we're trying to pull. We're going to make the back end slide as the front end rolls back up on the road. You can see how far he was
Yeah,
in
it
the
was
ditch
buried in there.
with that big rock that he was sitting on.
He wasn't going anywhere by himself.
No, and just trying to pull him forward or backwards is going to cause more damage. We don't ever want to do more damage. So again, get the paint off the rocks, get him back up on the road. You're going to see us pull him another few feet up on the road. And then I think his girlfriend here actually has the camera. She starts interviewing him. So they do a great job at telling the whole story. In a minute here, I'm gonna pause my mouth and let them tell you exactly what happened. And then you'll see me in the background. We're going to air him down. He doesn't have any chains, and it's icy. So he, too, is not concerned, not sure how he's going to get off the mountain. And we told him, you're going to drive. We're going to air you down. We're going to follow you out. We're going to do it at 3 or 4 miles an hour, and we'll get you back out to the asphalt. And he was super appreciative. He figured we'd get him out of the hole, but he didn't know we were going to escort him all the way back to the asphalt.
See?
So SNORR's #1 goal is to fill the gap between the off-road enthusiast and where the asphalt ends, where a tow truck might get you, where your friends might come pick you up, because just leaving him here on the road,
No one's going to get him.
nobody's going to come get him, and he risks doing the same thing again. So it's actually interesting. There's a video following him out, and we had told him if you can keep 2 tires in the dirt, you won't slide.
Yeah?
So you see him keep trying to drive off the road. And again, he was real appreciative because he wasn't sure how he was going to get out of there. And again, it's hard to tell here because the person standing there holding the camera is standing at the same angle as
Yeah.
the grade. So it's hard to tell here that this actually has a pretty good grade down to the left. It looks pretty flat, but it's not.
Now
So-
you can tell when you're walking up the hill.
He's safely back up on the grade there. He gets out, and we're going to start unhooking him, and he's going to tell us his side of the story here.
Just so crazy that rock literally kept it from going down. Just so crazy that rock literally kept it from going down.
So, just to give a little context, he actually got stuck the first time coming down. Coming up wasn't that big of a challenge, but it's the more being coming downhill. And there's another really tight turn, and you could already see the car pulling even with 4-wheel drive, just because the roads were just so slick. And we actually hit the side of the mountain. Luckily we were able to get out of that very carefully, but once we got down to this hill right here, trying to go as slow as possible, keeping your foot on the brakes. There's literally no breakage whatsoever, and we just tried to stay to the middle, but it just pulled us right here, and really by the grace of God, rock. We kind of just turned in and hit the rock, we ended up here. It was there for at least a couple of hours,
Overnight.
Well, no, I'm saying we were in the car.
For a couple hours.
Yeah, there was no reception up here. That was pretty scary. One of the things that luckily we had was an iPhone 14. So those have emergency. You can contact 911 through satellite because there's literally no service up here. So we were able to talk to 911. It was very cold.
And they contacted the team.
Yeah, and then they don't handle situations unless it's life or death, because they would bring a helicopter up here. But as far as having someone see us, luckily there was 3 guys on ATVs. If you guys are watching this, thank you again. I think one of the guys' name is Oscar. They were able to double check and call when they got down, because they said it would take about 30 minutes to drive down, and they were able to call and let you guys know that we were up here. And then another truck, brand new white Toyota Tundra. Toyota Tundra, 2024. He happened to be taking his family. John happened to be taking his family up. Really nice family, and they happened to see us, and they had actually passed the ATV guys, let them know that eventually people were going to be coming, and they saw what was happening, and then they decided to turn around, and we just at that point decided it was best to just jump in because it was already getting dark, and trying to stay up here. There is my girlfriend's geodesic dome, about a mile and a half, 2 miles up. We could have walked it, but it was getting dark and it was getting really cold, so it just seemed better just to drive back into town and come here in the morning. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But we're safe, everything's good, the car looks in good condition, and these guys have been so grateful, helpful,
Super
awesome. Learned so much, and any advice to anybody is just don't underestimate snow, and even if you got 4-wheel drive and ice, it's just be prepared or just don't come up here.
Good story.
So he doesn't have any chains, and he's got full street pressure, which leaves a very small contact patch. If this was just fresh snow, we probably would have let him drive out, but we're going to go ahead and air his tires down here a little bit, increase that contact patch on the ice, see if we can give him a little better.
No, on my big tires, on the light Jeep, I go 10. I'm just going to drop you down to about 16.
Okay. Yeah.
Give you a little squat, a little better traction.
So here we go heading out, and this is where I was telling you earlier. He starts driving down, and he's already sliding sideways, just trying to get out. So I told him, try to keep those 2 left tires in the dirt. And we end up driving about 2 miles back out. There are some areas where he was slipping and sliding, and the natural instinct when you're sliding is panic and push the brakes harder. But once you're sliding, you've got to let off the brake, let the tires roll so you can steer a little bit. So we're pretty slow and go on the way out, but we get him safely back out to the road and aired back up, and he's on his way home.
It's nice to see when different groups all come together for one cause, all to help.
Yeah, it is. You wouldn't believe how appreciative people are. I know you had an experience one time, but people don't know how I'm getting out, how I'm getting home, how much is it going to cost, how much my damages to my vehicle. And when we get up there, we explain to them, we're a volunteer organization. There's no charge for our services. We're going to get you back out to the road, and 99% of the time you're going to drive your own vehicle home. If not, we'll get it to a point where a tow truck can get to it. But one of the reasons I wanted to invite you to see this stuff, between us, the 2 of us, Keith, I hate to admit we probably got over 100 years of trail experience doing stuff. We've both led runs for the Jeep Club, and we've explained countless times how to do things safely.
Yeah.
But things happen when you're not expecting them, when you're not paying attention. And these are all good lessons for people that are going out to explore in the wilderness and enjoy the outdoors. I would never advise anybody to refrain from going out, but make sure you have a way to get contact, even if it's iPhone 14 with SOS services
that's a great
like
thing
this
to
guy.
have. Saved him.
Satellite communicator. Take a friend. If something happens to one of you, somebody can drive out. But these are all great lessons to pass on to the Jeep Club if you get a chance.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I know we encourage everyone to have some kind of communications other than a cell phone.
Yeah.
And never go alone.
Well, thanks for coming out and watching this with me. I had
Thank
a
you for
great
inviting
time.
me. This was a great learning experience. I'd like to see how you guys work. It's just awesome. Because who knows, I may need you again.
Well, we're going to hope not, but we'll see you on another video.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Keith.